ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 30, The Activities of Prachetas. So, we are at a very beautiful shloka yesterday, and this is a very famous shloka which is described for the cooperation amongst the devotees. The Lord says, I am pleased by your friendly relationships. So, this is very important that how the individual and the collective unity is far more important than individual purity. Of course, we strive for individual purity, but when we come together and perform devotional service, and that is especially the mood of Sankirtana, then the Lord is very pleased. He says, Varam Vranidvam Bhadrambo. Yuyam me Nrupanandanaha. Nrupanandanaha, my dear sons of the king, please ask for some benediction. Why is saying? Because Tushtoham Saurudenava. Your Sauruda amongst yourself, I am extremely pleased by your friendly relationship. Okay. So we come to text 9 now. Text 9. योनुस्मरति सन्ध्यायां युष्मान् अनुदिनं नरः तस्य भातृषु आत्मसाम्यं तथा भूतेषु सौहृदम्.
The Lord continued, those who remember you every evening of every day will become friendly with their brothers and with all other living entities. Hare Krishna.
So the Lord says, it is such a wonderful example. We should really have a picture of Prachetas in our all these Prachetas performing austerity together, and we should really, take their darshan in the evening. Lord says this: Yo anusmarati sandhyayam yushman anudinam naraha. He will become very friendly with other brothers and all living entities. Right? Saurudenava, simply by looking at one who remembers you. Right? So many years back, almost like 35 years back, when I was first time traveling to Ahilyanagar from my native place, I came across one dhaba, and a lot of suvichars were written there. And I still remember one very amazing suvichar that it was written. Everything was written in Marathi. So this suvichar was also written in Marathi, and that suvichar was, it is like काळजी घेणं थांबवलं की प्रेम संपतं. Okay, so when you stop caring for people, love is over. Right? So it says काळजी घेणं थांबवलं की प्रेम संपतं. So nowadays we see that, amongst nowadays, because everybody is financially independent, people are not needing each other financially so much. and people are enough distracted. And we need brotherly, friendly relationships are very important. Text 10. ये तु मां रुद्रगीतेन सायं प्रातः समाहिताः स्तुन्वन्ति स्तुन्वन्तिहं कामवरान् दास्ये प्रज्ञां कृशोभनाम्. Translation.
Translation: Those who will offer me the prayers composed by Lord Shiva, both in the morning and in the evening, will be given benedictions by me. In this way, they can both fulfill their desires and attain good intelligence. Purport: Good intelligence means going back home, back to Godhead. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 10.10. Tesham satatayuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tama yen mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. One who offers prayers to the Lord to fulfill his different desires must know that the highest perfectional fulfillment of desire is to go back home, back to Godhead. In this verse, it is indicated that those who remember the activities of the Prachetas, the sons of King Prachina Barihishta, will be delivered and blessed. So, what to speak of the sons of King Prachini Barihishta, who are directly connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead? This is the way of the Parampara system. If we follow the Acharyas, we attain the same benefit as our predecessors. If one follows the decisions of Arjuna, he should be considered to be directly hearing Bhagavad Gita from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no difference between hearing Bhagavad Gita directly from the Supreme Lord and following a personality like Arjuna, who formerly heard Bhagavad Gita directly from the Lord. Sometimes foolish people argue that since Krishna is not present at the moment, one cannot take direct instructions from him. Such foolish people do not know that there is no difference between directly hearing Bhagavad Gita and reading it as long as one accepts Bhagavad Gita as it is, spoken by the Lord. However, if one wants to understand Bhagavad Gita by his imperfect interpretations, one cannot possibly understand the mysteries of Bhagavad Gita, even though one may be a great scholar according to mundane estimation. Hare Krishna.
The Lord further says, Ye tu mam Rudra Gitena. And anybody who remembers, who recites, offers prayers which are composed by Lord Shiva Rudra Gitena every morning and evening will fulfill all his desires and attain good intelligence. So this is those who glorify me with Rudra Gitena. Those who remember you, they will have friendly brotherly relationships amongst themselves and for all living entities. And those who recite Rudra Gita morning and evening, then they will fulfill all their desires and attain good intelligence. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is quick to point out, don't utilize the spiritual Shruti for some stupid, lowly material fulfillments. Right? Good intelligence means actually going back home, back to Godhead. One who offers prayers to the Lord can fulfill his desires, must know what is the desire to be fulfilled. Nate vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu. Otherwise, there is a story of somebody. If you don't know what to ask for, we may ask for something very paltry. Like, there is a story of a woodcutter lady, and she had cut a lot of wood in the forest, and she was carrying the big burden of the wood on one shoulder, and suddenly God appeared. And she said that, the God said, what do you want? Ask any benediction. And she only, her thought was only about the wood and the burden. She said that this shoulder is highly paining, left shoulder. So please take this and place it on my right shoulder. Right. So every material benediction to greater or smaller degree is actually burden to the living entity, burden to the soul. And therefore, Dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. The real intelligence is to going back home, back to Godhead. Right? We have to perform our duties very well and go back home, back to Godhead. This is the real intelligence. And Srila Prabhupada says, if those who remember the Prachetas and the Supreme Lord, they get such high benediction, what to speak of the Prachetas who have undoubtedly gone back home, back to Godhead. But we are not competent enough, we are not qualified enough, we are not fortunate enough like the Prachetas. But the activities of the Prachetas are available to us, right? The song they sung, that is Rudra Gitena, that is available to us. And thus there is no difference between what what is the result received by Prachetas and what is the result will be received by those like the devotees who are following the footsteps of Prachetas. And this is the beauty of Parampara system. So what is Parampara system? Parampara system means we may not be at that point when Bhagavad Gita was spoken, we may not be present there. We may be some tree or some, some other living entity somewhere, but surely not warrior, right, in that battle, because Tathaiva Channe Naralokavira, we have seen that. So, but the result which was obtained by Arjuna, we can attain the exact same result. In fact, more, even more concentrated result than Arjuna by following the Parampara system. There is no difference between hearing Bhagavad Gita directly from the Lord or from his devotee like Arjuna or the Acharya in the Parampara system. So we have to simply accept the conclusions of the Bhagavad Gita as spoken by the Lord. And thus, one can attain literally the same benefits. Now, what is more? What is more is that, okay, one is on the, what is more is through Parampara system, we have access to all other planetary systems, all other different yugas, all other different personalities, right? And this is the beauty of Parampara system. So Lord further continues. यद्यूयं पिता पितुरानुदेश अग्रहिष्टामुदान्विताः अथो वः उशतीर्कीर्तिः लोकान् अनुभविष्यति. Translation.
Because you have with pleasure accepted within your hearts the orders of your father and have executed those orders very faithfully, your attractive qualities will be celebrated all over the world. Purport. Since every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has small independence. Sometimes an intelligent man asks why one is put into a miserable condition even though everyone is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because of his minute independence, the living entity can obey or disobey the orders of the Supreme Lord. If he obeys the Supreme Lord's orders, he becomes happy. If he does not, he becomes unhappy. Therefore, the living entity creates his own happiness or unhappiness. The Supreme Lord does not enforce these on anyone. The Supreme Lord praised the Prachetas because they all faithfully obeyed the orders of their father. The Lord therefore blessed the sons of King Prachina Varishat because they obeyed their father's order.
So now the Lord says, my dear Prachetas, because of your great submissiveness, you accepted with pleasure. What is that? With great pleasure, you mudanvita. Mudanvita means, muda means very happy, pleasure. With great happiness, you have accepted the orders of your father. That was a strict order. Go to the forest, do 10,000 years of tapasya, and executed them very faithfully. Your attractive qualities will be celebrated all over the world. Right. So one thing is receiving order, another thing is mudanvita, happily, and in following them very faithfully. And then what will happen is, by doing that, is the Lord says your attractive qualities will be celebrated everywhere. Correct. So whenever we receive order, whenever we receive indication, we should happily accept it. First thing is mudanvita. Right. And incidentally, Mudit Krishna Prabhu is reading. So Mudit Krishna means happy Krishna. Okay, so mudanvita. Muda means very, very great happiness. So, and we have to faithfully follow them because the instructions are coming, right? We may not know why the instruction is coming, but one should have faith in the instructions and one should follow those instructions. Like in the military, the initial trainings of the military, somebody was narrating NDA, right? They will say, the colonel will come and he will say, cadets, now, gadda khodo idhar. So they will, gadda khodenge, cut. And, and then they will take a break. After 6 hours of creating a big hole, pot there, they will take a break. And after 10 minutes of break, they will say, "Eh, gadde ko bhar do abhi." They will say, "Bhar do abhi, cut, bhar diya." What is next order? Chalo, walk 3 feet ahead. Udhar gadda khodo. And you will say, "Sir, gadda khod ke bharna hi hai, to why you are asking us to khoda and bharo?" So point is not to train you in khadda khodo and bharo. The point is to train you in following the instructions. Because what happens is when we operate at a very higher level, or who else than Jayapataka Maharaj put it so beautifully. Maharaj says, in one of the class, Jayapataka Maharaj was saying like this. He said that I have so many disciples who are the pilots. And, when you fly at 36,000 feet from the ground and, those kind of heights, when you are flying Boeing 779, those, the Airbus, where almost like 400 passengers are there, you have taken an international flight and you are the chief pilot. And at that height, what happens is that your mind, your senses, you everything, because all that you see is only the sky, right? You may think you are taking a right turn, but you may be actually taking a left turn. You may think you are going up in the altitude, but actually you may be going down in the altitude. You may be actually, the collapsing towards the ground. So you are saying when you fly very high, you need very high control, high connect with the command center. And that's what you will see that, Niyantrana Kaksha, that control room, say somebody is lost connection with the control room and that helicopter is crashed, that plane is crashed, and that, and then you will see all those things. So, to the degree we want to fly high, to that degree, we have to be very deeply connected. We should be mudan vitaha, very happily receiving instruction. Not that, Prabhuji, you know, not like that, not in a challenging spirit. Another example is a kite. When the kite wants to fly high, it has to be very strongly connected with a rope. One who is, uh, doing the kite flying. If the kite feels that, ye kya, I'm just somebody's controlling me, I'm just limited by this rope, and just cuts off himself, then one becomes Katipata, right? Our One, there was a nice Charoli also. What was that? Marathi. It says that something like that. Adagleला patang फाडायला धावतात. That was the second two lines. So example of the pilot, very, very amazing example. Because at that height, we don't know whether we are, or the kite flying. And therefore, one should be fortunate enough to receive instruction, and one should be mudanvita. One should happily execute those instructions without any grudge in the mind. Right. And the Lord is very happily saying that I am extremely pleased with your submissiveness, my dear Prachitas. Text 12. Bhavita Vishruta Putro Anavam Brahmano Gunaihi Ya Etamaatmaviryena Trilokim Purayishyate. Translation.
You will have a nice son who will be in no way inferior to Lord Brahma. Consequently, he will be very famous all over the universe, and the sons and grandsons generated by him will fill the three worlds. Purport. As explained in the next verse, the Prachitas will marry the daughter of the great sage Kandu. It is suggested that the son's name will be Vishruta and that he will glorify both his father and mother because of his good character. In fact, he would be greater than Lord Brahma. The great politician Chanakya said, if there is a good tree within a garden or forest, its flowers will fill the forest with their fragrance. Similarly, a good son within a family makes the whole family famous all over the world. Krishna took birth in the family of Yadus, and consequently, the Yadu dynasty is famous all over the world.
So now, the purpose of the austerity was prepare for the marriage. That's why they had come there, and that is the purpose of the austerity. And Lord is aware of that, and Lord takes the cognizance of that, and he says, Bhavita Vishruto, you will receive a very famous son, and your the activities of the Prachetas, you will have one son, a nice son, who will be no way inferior to Lord Brahma. Brahmano gunai, anavamo, Brahmano gunai. He will be not less than Lord Brahma. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, in fact, he will be greater than, he will become more famous than Lord Brahma. And then later, his sons and grandsons will generated by him will fill all the three worlds. And thus, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that Prachetas are going to marry the daughter of the great sage Kandu. So that is the very next verse. And the son's name will be Vishruta, and he will be very, very famous. He will glorify his parents by his good character and achievements. So when the children they exhibit good characters, automatically parents are glorified. Correct. And Srila Prabhupada quotes Chanakya here. Yeah, right. So even Tukaram Maharaj says this, right? Shuddha bija poti, phale rasala gomati. So Shuddha bija poti, phale, rasala gomati. Very beautiful one liner. This was a Singapore Prime Minister, one who is considered the father of Singapore. And Singapore is a slightly different country. There are many pros and cons. But one thing he said that, because I am good and my wife is good, my son will be good. And somebody objected him and they said that there are accidents, but accident is not a rule. Rule is a rule, accident is exception. Okay. I mean, he was in a way just proposing the monarchy there. And that time he was explaining this. So generally it happened like this previously. And then Srila Prabhupada gives example of when somebody great personality is born, entire Kula becomes glorified. And therefore, just like because the appearance of Lord Krishna in the Yadava dynasty, Yadavas, they have become very, very glorified all over the world. Vrishni, Yadava, Yadupati, Yaduvar. There are so many names of the Supreme Lord. So this is now next two words. There is a explanation of this marriage. कंडो प्रलोम च या लब्ध्वा कन्या कमललोचना तां च अपि विद्धां जुगृहु भूरः नृपनन्दनाः. Translation.
Translation. O sons of King Prachin Parishat, the heavenly society girl named Pramlocha kept the lotus-eyed daughter of Kandu in the care of the forest trees. Then she went back to the heavenly planet. This daughter was born by the coupling of the Apsara named Pramlocha with the sage Kandu. Purport. Whenever a great sage undergoes severe austerities for material power, the king of heaven, Indra, becomes very envious. All the demigods have responsible posts for management and universal affairs and are very highly qualified with pious activities. Although they are ordinary living entities, they are able to attain responsible posts like Lord Brahma, Indra, Chandra, Varuna, as is the nature of this material world. The king of heaven, Indra, is very anxious if a great sage undergoes severe austerities. The whole material world is filled with such envy that everyone becomes afraid of his neighbors. Every businessman is afraid of his associate because this material world is the field of activities for all kinds of envious people who have come here to compete with the opulence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, Indra was very much afraid of the severe austerities performed by the great sage Kandu. And he sent Pramlocha to break his vows and austerities. A similar incident took place in the case of Vishwamitra. From other incidents in the Shastras, it appears that Indra has always been envious. When King Prithu was celebrating various sacrifices, outdoing Indra, Indra became very envious and he disturbed society girl Pramlocha and begot a female child. This child is described herein as lotus-eyed and very beautiful. Being thus successful in her mission, Pramlocha returned to the heavenly planets, leaving the newborn child to the care of the trees. Fortunately, the trees accepted the child and agreed to raise her. Hare Krishna.
So now the Lord says, Kando Pramlochaya Labdva, Kanya Kamalalochana. The heavenly society girl Pramlocha kept a Kamalalochana daughter, which is born of the Kandu Muni, in the care of the forest trees, and you will marry this particular daughter. Now, who is Pramlocha and why? Who is Kandu and why there is the daughter is in the tree? Srila Prabhupada explains this in the purport. So, whenever a great sage undergoes a severe austerity, Indra becomes very, very envious. And this is, the nature of the material world, Prabhupada writes here. Although the demigods, they are very, very high in their activities and qualities, but they are also ordinary living entities. By the virtue of Punya, they will receive a very high position like Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Vayu, so on and so forth. But as the nature of the material world is, everybody becomes envious. And that's what we will see that, everybody becomes envious here. You are working in a position, suddenly you get promotion, then, the people are envious of you. In the league, when you are promoted to, then that people become little alarmed. I remember when I became dean first time, suddenly 10 people in the morning were saying me, good morning, sir, good morning, sir, good morning, sir. I mean, I was thinking that till yesterday I was absolutely nobody. And today suddenly how 10 people are saying me good morning. I told also a couple of them that you are not saying good morning to me, it's a position. It will go anytime and then, good morning is also gone. You are not going to look at me also. So, and the others, one dean came to me and he just congratulated me and he said, your grip is very positive. He was a handshake and he said that very nice grip you have. So this is what it happens. This is the material world. You will see that rich people carrying bouncers around them because people are envious. And this is the nature. And in fact, more we go up, more we will see that. Prabhupada writes here, very amazing statement. Every businessman is afraid of his associates because this material world is the field of activities, all kinds of envious people. So if we are in a business and if we get somebody who is, like a brother in business, there cannot be greater benediction than that. Otherwise, people are, so many places we see that you had Infosys, thoda jagda ho gaya, they went out with 25% of the workforce, 50% of the projects, started Mindtree, udhar jagda ho gaya, idhar se udhar, companies keep on splitting, the founders, the entrepreneurs, the core team, they keep on splitting. And this is how people are quite afraid, people are quite uh, envious of each other. And same is the case with Indra. Now, Indra comes, in the discussion again and again. Prabhupada writes here. There was a great sage Kandu, and when he was performing austerities, Indra became very envious. He felt that, oh my God, if this Kandu surpasses me in the austerities, then Indra Padavi is gone. And therefore, he wanted to disturb those austerities, and he sent this Pramlocha. Unfortunately, uh, Kandu failed to Pramlocha and gave birth to a beautiful daughter, that is Kamalalochana. So Pramlocha giving birth to Kamalalochana, whose eyes were extremely beautiful. And when the work is done, Pramlocha said, bye-bye, my job is done. And now these society girls, they are not attached to the child being born and motherly affection and they want to feed the child, nothing. She just left the child to the trees called the Vriksha Devata and said that please take care of this girl. And she just went to the heavenly planets to receive the next order. Right. So, and then Indra comes again and again. Vishwamitra, he did the same thing. Right. Maharaj Prithu, he did the same thing. In fact, when Naranara and Rishi were performing austerities, Indra also did the same thing. Later it will come. And he sent, the Cupid and so many Rambha and everybody else. Naranara and Rishi, So different ways Indra was making these great sages fall down. And Narayana Rishi just opened his eyes, and that time the Kandarpa, Kamadev, he was trembling actually, realizing that Narayana Rishi can destroy both of them. Narayana Rishi said, "No, you have come to my ashram. You are like my guest, and I will gift you something." And then from his uru, from his thigh, appeared a beautiful apsara, in front of whom Rambha looked like the great grandmother of that apsara, like that. And that was Urvashi. Okay, one who came from the uru, or the thigh of the Supreme Lord, Urvashi. And he said, "Take this and say that this is a gift from me to Indra." But here we see that Indra becomes uh, time to time very envious. This is the nature of the material world. And this pastime very beautifully explains this, that we should not become envious. This is very important. We should not be enamored by the padavi. You are the top books distributor, you are the great fund collector. So it should not act in two ways. One is, we should not get into it. And another thing is, because we are not into it, our enthusiasm to perform the activity should not go down. Right? It is very important. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhur ma te sangostava akarmani. We should not be attached to not performing the activity. Because I am not enjoying the results of my activity, why should I do the activity? No. We are doing the activity yajñarthat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. Right? So this is what so we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.